What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward as we have the FOMC minutes, not to mention other catalysts out there. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market is going, I just want to mention that SPY is starting to dip just a little bit during the pre-market session, but we do have big data coming out that could affect whether or not this dip will last. So today, we essentially just had some housing data. Everything is quite minor. We have the New York Fed Treasury purchases that are coming out at 10:30 a.m. Might cause a little bit of volatility, but it's nothing too crazy. Alongside these bill and bond auctions at 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. But all this data is very, very minor that's coming out. The main thing is going to be the FOMC minutes to cause more volatility at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that could still change the direction of the markets. We have to wait and see once this data comes out. The Fed is going to give us more information about what they think about interest rates and the current state of the economy, and their tonality is going to be affecting the way in which this market's going to move. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. That's going to be very, very impactful, very, very important. So we'll see how that ends up going. For other pieces of news, just know that Intel had a very, very big announcement. They had their best day since March of 2020 on Tuesday after the stock jumped more than 16% on reports that both Broadcom and TSM are possibly weighing bids that could break up the chip maker. They may be interested in Intel's chip design and marketing business, according to reports, which I think is very, very bullish. We'll see if that ends up being the case. TSMC may also be involved in being involved in their like manufacturing process, which could be very bullish. So good news for Intel has come out. Besides that, there is some uncertainty associated with Trump's tariffs because we don't know the exact details for them. We will be looking to see how lumber and factors like that are affected, but we're waiting for more announcements as time goes on, especially as they could be affecting more commodities, cars, and then we have Canadian tariffs that could be coming out very, very soon. So all this could be affecting housing and factors like that. So we'll see how that ends up going. That's just a short-term effect, at least for the time being. For other factors, we have Etsy, Wix, and others that are announcing earnings. Later on today, we have Carvana and Toast. But for Etsy, unfortunately, they did end up missing on revenue. Their revenue or their sales are actually down about 6.8% in the fourth quarter to about $3.7 billion. And then their gross merchandise sales are down about 8.6%. That's why the share price is down, despite the fact that they had an interesting beat on EPS. So missing revenues would cause the share price to go down. But that being said, let's talk about the charts. So on SPY, yesterday we dipped and then bounced. We made a full recovery, but then instead of continuing to push, SPY is starting to dip again. So it's very, very volatile, very, very crazy price action. Excuse me. When you look at the 4-hour time frame, the PPO is about to turn negative, so this does typically favor a move down. So this might just be a very, very temporary move. It was very tricky with the way the market's moving. It just kind of like pumped again, then dumps, then pumped. It's very tricky. But this time around, watch 610. If SPY could hold above 610, there's potential for it to bounce. If 610 does not hold, we're going to be at risk of returning to 608 and then 605 for a temporary dip before some buyers return. This could just be a temporary dip before a big bounce, guys. So it's not necessarily that the market is bearish for the medium term. It's just a temporary move down. So I think that if 610 doesn't hold, we're looking for 608 and eventually 605 as our potential targets. And we'll see if we bounce off those. On the QQQ, very similar setup. So we were trying to rebound. We hit 541, but now we're starting to slow down a little bit. I'm going to be looking for 535 as the main support right here near the 20 EMA. So watch 538. If it doesn't hold, look for 535 and 533. And we'll see if we bounce off those levels. We need to break 541 to remain bullish, but I think that this might dip just a bit before we get our data for the FOMC minutes. The Fed could change this and we can make a full recovery bounce depending on what they announce. But for the short term, approaching the data, there might be a small dip beforehand. On the Russell 2000, we pumped very nicely yesterday. Then we dipped back down. So now we're in a range. We need to see if 225 holds. If not, we could be dipping to about the 223s. We need to get back above 226.5 to really bounce. Otherwise, this is going to be at risk of dipping to like the 224s. So give this some time. ES is starting to dip a bit. We're looking for essentially 61.36 and 61.20 are supports. If those fails, we're looking for 6,100 flats. If we break past the 61.68, we're going to be pushing. This could dip closer to 61.20, so we'll see what kind of reaction we get. But overall, we're still bullish. Even if we do get a small dip, we could still bounce. We haven't broken back down below our yellow trend line. We're not in this channel. This is just like a temporary dip before potentially going higher. There were instances where we started to break out. We dipped a little bit, then we started to break out higher. That's happened many times. So this could just be a very temporary move on ES before it goes a lot higher to like all-time highs. Might see a small dip first. NQ is the same thing because when you look at NQ, there's an inverse head and shoulders, and the full measured move will take you to about 22,400. We could be tipping to 22,182 or below. We might be tipping to like the lower 22,000s. We'll see if we bounce off that. So give it some time. For Bitcoin, we're looking for essentially 96,500. If that breaks, we're looking for 98,000. If we reject it, we could be turning back down. So we'll see if we get some kind of bounce. Give this some time. For Nvidia, we have a nice wick forming here, which typically signifies that there's like a temporary top. It did push very nicely to 144 already. Might pull back a bit before it tries to bounce again. But this pullback, it depends on if we could hold 140 or not. If not, I could be looking for 138 and 136.35 as potential targets for a temporary dip before some buyers return. For Tesla, it's looking a little bit weaker because of the fact that there's a lot of negative news coming out involving Elon Musk. So, this could be forming a wedge. So if you want to draw it out like this is getting very, very tight. So we'll be watching to see how Tesla responds. But there is going to be a risk of Tesla dipping lower if we end up breaking below 348. If we break 360, we will turn more bullish, but temporarily there's going to be a risk of us, in my opinion, returning to about 348. And then we'll see, do we break down all the way back down to like the 330s, or do we make a full shaped recovery for 362, depending on our FOMC minutes? So this depends on the data that's coming out. But for the short term, I think we might be testing 348, and then we'll see if we bounce. Apple's dipping as well. I want to see it get back above 246 to really push. Otherwise, we're at risk of dipping to about 240. So just keep that in mind. Amazon, we need to get hold above 225.37. If not, we could be dipping to 223. It's a little bit weak here. To balance, you want to get back above 230. There's a risk of us dipping a bit lower looking at this current trend. Meta's dipping. We're looking to see if 708 holds. This is the first time Meta's getting a big dip in a long while. So, we got to hold 708. Otherwise, we could be dipping to about 700 flat. Microsoft could be dipping to about 405. Then Google also is just very flat, might be retesting 183. So with that being said, guys, the market is looking heavy right now. A temporary dip would be completely normal, but this could just be setting us up for a bigger move up. So please keep that in mind. This is just a temporary move down that's coming. And then the Fed, Jerome Powell, the Fed, whatever they end up announcing during the FOMC minutes could be very important. Remember, the minutes is not FOMC. It's simply just a report about FOMC on paper. So we'll see what that leads to. Get ready for that data at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For now, the market's a little bit more bearish looking just for now, at least approaching it, but things could change over time, okay? With that being said, thank you for listening and peace out.